All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you, Paula, for the introduction. I'm going to be talking for the next few minutes about the work we do as part of cooking sections and the long-term project that we have been pursuing since 2015 called Climavore, which questions how we eat as humans are changing the climate. And to do that, also, or kind of using that, we will open up and kind of announce to you the Maaleipä-haaste competition that we are holding this year. So since the Industrial Revolution, and especially after World War II, seasons have been made to shift at unexpected rates. In central India, longer dry periods and more extreme monsoon-related events are affecting grain harvest. Hotter winters in the East Coast deprive trees of the chill hours that they require to bear stone fruit. Dry spells during the rainy seasons in Ghana and the Ivory Coast are threatening cocoa supply in the world's top producing countries. In Europe, the first day of spring has advanced by 6 to 8 days in the past 30 years. Wine harvest in Burgundy, for example, now starts also almost a month earlier than it has a decade ago. Signs that once allowed humans to organize life around seasons have become indicators of a crisis. Birds are laying their eggs almost a month too early, or trees retaining green canopies for longer is not an evidence of just global warming anymore, but they expose us to new waves of global weirding or season creep. This isn't sci-fi or not climate fiction. These are real muted landscapes that are featuring the tropicalization of California or the Mediterraneization of the Black Sea. Yet unexpected weather is not a new phenomenon. Since the Neolithic, human appetite, the desire to eat food and nourish our metabolic needs, has guided the evolution through our ancestors' effort to understand the sun, connect to the moon, respect the tides, and read the stars. To be weather. Notice the signs. If dandelions fold tightly, expect rain. When seagulls fly high, clear sky. When sheep gather in a huddle, tomorrow you'll have a puddle. All of this popular wisdom has just had one mission: forecast seasonal tasks and plan when best to produce, source, gather, sow, harvest, herd, fish, hunt, and reproduce. But seasonal knowledge now no longer works for its original purpose. To be omnivore is the unique trait of humans, the capacity to choose what we eat. Yet a metabolic rift has separated the soil from what it means to culture it, to grow food, to nourish ground and bodies. In 2015, we coined the term Climavore to describe how to adapt our foodscapes into the new human-made seasons, moving beyond carnivore, omnivore, locavore, vegetarian or vegan diets into Climavore, a way of eating according to seasons of drought and moving deserts, polluted seas and wetland disappearance, infertile soil and fertilizer runoff. Seasons are eroding, but to keep up, supermarkets have been flooded with an endless supply of standardized foods items all year round. Such omnipresent produce have in fact diminished the diversity of food, which is produced in standardized environments regardless to any climatic event. We eat the same strawberries in winter, the same apples in the summer, and the same bananas all the same. And even the same farmed salmon in the same shade of salmon pink all year round. This vicious loop makes seasons even more erratic. The more industries extend seasonality, the more seasons shift. And the more seasons shift, the more industries introduce technological solutions to fix a global food system that they themselves are pushing to the brink of collapse. This happens all around us, in our home, grocery shops, supermarkets, canteen, restaurants, or bakeries. Such spaces are at the intersection between growers and consumers, between farmers and eaters, and hold the key to reimagine a new food system for the climate crisis. Restaurant is the word that originates from bouillon restaurant, an establishment in 18th century France that translates literally to restorative soup. It was named after a quasi medicinal dish intended to warm and nourish people's bodies. In the climate emergency, the restaurant, alongside school canteens, collective kitchens, and so many other feeding spaces in museums, cultural or educational institutions, all need to become a place not only to restore the human body, but to care for planetary ecologies. In the 21st century, in 2021, we launched Becoming Climavore as a campaign and a global network of more than 20 museums, cultural and pedagogical institutions that have made their menus to adapt their food offerings to the climate crisis. They removed ingredients from extractive systems such as farmed salmon, replacing them with others that grow regenerative foods while cultivating habitats. Different universal bodies have created standards to dictate the food policy of the future, many of which that have led to the current broken system. And it is so urgent to claim or reclaim those spaces to reimagine another future. To address the climate crisis, endless reports of food policy have been circulating for decades. When you read them, they obviously talk about climate, policy, and food. But interestingly enough, if you search for culture, only agriculture appears. If you search for art, it gives even a more interesting avenue. You only find parties, partners, parts, and sometimes a bit of earth, heart, or smart, even someone called Martin. But no trace of culture or art in hundreds of pages of documents that are supposed to create new visions for the planet. The role of culture is absent in designing agriculture futures. Last October, we organized the first Climavore Assembly in Rome to bring all of these links in the food chain together and bridge the gap between culture and agriculture. The assembly brought together a diverse set of voices to think, contend, and question our collective role in addressing the broken food system to imagine a new world. This happening at the seat of the seat of the FAO and at the end of the World Food Forum Week. The Climavore Assembly debated new culture and artistic tactics for ecologically driven action and policy making. It was a shared effort to reimagine the role museums and cultural platforms have as agents of transformation in food and agriculture systems in the climate crisis. To stop talking about ecology and actually practice ecology. Culture and agriculture have been completely disconnected from each other, but climate struggles cannot be split from cultural shifts, and cultural shifts require new forms of action to see civic space in what enters our mouth. And this is part of the work that we've been developing also for our commission here for ICHME Helsinki. So over the past few years, we've been creating various forums like this one, where we created on the Isle of Skye, Scotland, in Scotland, an intertidal table where people at low tide would come to the shore to debate kind of new imaginaries and new politics and policies for the island. And at high tide, this table became a home from oysters, mussels, and seaweeds that all filter the water as they grow. And I will just very quickly share a video with you. now in Helsinki. More than 2 years ago, we were invited by ICHME to create a new commission for the city, which expanded to become something much bigger. During this period, we have been speaking to dozens of experts, many of which are here today in the room with us, trying to understand the practical and legislative challenges that are shaping the Finnish agricultural system and the consequences that are taking place due to mismanagement of land and also increasing use of chemical fertilizers that are all washing into the Baltic Sea. This question faced us not only how do we raise awareness to this challenge, but moreover, how do we bring together farmers, policymakers, food businesses, and consumers to start building an alternative horizon. We have spoken to dozens of experts that we learned from many different and important lessons, which you can all go on the Maaleipä-haaste website and kind of learn and see the video interviews that we made with them. But very briefly, with Kari from Ruralia Institute, that informed us on how the cultivation of animal feed and the majority of the land used for animal feed affects nutrient cycles of the soil, water systems, and the Baltic Sea. With Mina from the Finnish Environmental Institute, she demonstrated the close connection between agriculture and farming and the Baltic Sea and how alternative farming methods can help reducing nutrient overloads. Ruvi van der Wecken from Omamak Food Cooperative and farmer Jukka Lassila from the Lassila family farm described to us the importance of changing the Finnish food system and what biodiversity in agriculture entails. Joshua Finch from the Novia University of Applied Sciences explained how intensive farming affects the soil and crops and how both farmers and consumers, as well as soil, could benefit from regenerative farming and diversification of agriculture. And lastly, baker and bread culture entrepreneur Elisa Kusula has spoken with us on the role sourdough bread can have in enhancing the microbiological connection between the soil and our gut. All of this has informed us in the conversation we had in creating Maaleipä-haaste, a nationwide competition or challenge to create a bread for the future of the country. This competition calls for professionals, bakers, home bakers, restaurants, and food businesses to develop a bread recipe for the country that will improve the well-being of the land, the water, and people's gut. We encourage anyone in this room and anyone in this room that knows anyone that bakes bread, and I'm sure there are many of those, to participate and sign up to the challenge and to work with us to expand this mission and to think how the act of making bread and kind of how the act of expanding the way we think about bread and the way we consume bread can change land use and agricultural policy across Finland. The way to do that, you can go on the website and there are very clear set of indications and rules, but that basically, and I will not go deep into that because I think we are running out of time, but the most important thing first is to experiment with variety and ingredients and encourage polyculture in the field and in our gut. The second thing is to choose ingredients and agricultural methods that support care for the soil and by that the bodies of animals and humans. And the last thing is to create a diverse bread culture that both kind of thinks anew about old classics, but at the same time draws inspirations from different regions in Finland and also kind of reinterprets various kinds of breads of the many different cultures that reside and live in the country. Deadline for submission is the 1st of September. So you have time over your summer holidays to think about it and to experiment and to plan. And then on the 21st of September, we will have a ceremony at Kalaullia in Helsinki, and we hope you will all join us there. So thank you very much for having me, and enjoy the rest of the day.